Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Hare Krishna Project podcast. This is episode number 183. I always chuckle when I say the number because part of me can't believe it's still going, and we're edging closer to our 200th episode. So welcome to episode number 183. I don't think there's anything super spiritual about the number 183. I've certainly not been told that there is. I'm sure if you add it together, you can create different things. Do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, and you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. Or if you're watching this on Facebook and you haven't already, please do like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page so you can be kept updated about what we're doing in that way. As you know by now, as well as this podcast here at the Hare Krishna Project, we do other things as well. So we do book distribution, we do Hare Krishna festivals, and we are part of the growing network known as the League of Devotees, which means I get to travel and meet lots of wonderful devotees. We've just been to Scotland. We're back off to France again soon, trying to kind of bring devotees together so we can support one another. Okay, episode 183. Another fascinating episode, because this is, I was going to say, kind of a return guest. How could you say someone is kind of a return guest? Our guest this week was on a previous podcast, but not on his own, with some other people. And virtually, I'm traveling back to Australia. The Lord keeps taking me back to Australia at the moment. Maybe I'm meant to visit that one day. I'm absolutely delighted. From down under, our guest this week is Dina Bandhu Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare
It's
Krishna, Bandhu
great.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. It's great to have you with us, and I'm pleased that I was able to persuade you to do this. A bit later on, I think I'll mention the other podcast that you were on, because we'll talk about that a bit later on. But let's start with a nice, easy question. It's the question that every guest gets just to warm them up if they need warming up. Please.
Narada, can I do a little bit of appreciation before I introduce myself?
Okay.
Because I really want to say a few words of appreciation, which goes to you for the wonderful service you're doing running this Hare Krishna podcast. I watched a few episodes. I haven't watched all of them, but it's just wonderful to see your enthusiasm and dedication. And I like the motto of giving voice to voiceless people. I think it's really, really important. I do not consider myself voiceless in general, but there are many people who really need to go on public arena, so to speak, or go to some podcast and say things which are important for them and for the devotee community. So thank you so much for doing this service. And as I just learned that the League of Devotees you playing quite crucial role within is turn 1 year old, right?
Hmm.
Yes. Um, I'm also very grateful that you tirelessly promoting the League of Devotees. And for those who don't know, they need to check Narada's social media accounts and the beautiful service done through the League of Devotees. And I I've searched for the original League of Devotees and came across very interesting information there. Um, have you actually studied the League of
Yes,
Devotee
we did a bit of research before we
documents?
before we
Yes.
decided to choose the same name. A little bit we have, yes.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating. I might come back to the point, to the subject of original League of Devotees because there's a few interesting facts of that. So thank you for inviting me. I know how to hard get people sometimes on podcast. Some people don't like to be to be seen publicly, but I'm totally yours today. Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. So tell us a bit about you. Thank you for your kind words. I do really appreciate it. Um, Tell us a bit about you and where you are from.
I'm just a general guy. I don't think I have anything unique or special about myself. I guess one of the good qualities I possess, which are not many, is that I stick around devotees. I try to be around devotees, and I think that's my main treasure, which is keeping me within community of devotees. And I think it's a main source of inspiration. Be amongst devotees. As we know, San Kirtana, Sangha, the same root, San, which means together. And we have also Sangha today, and Sangha with the devotees. And I was fortunate to be introduced into Sangha of devotees in 1990, end of 89, 90, by my brother. I have a twin brother who is currently in Ukraine. So I was born in Ukraine, and my brother was born in Ukraine, as we twins. He's my dear friend, lifelong friend. We stay in touch almost every day. So in early 90s, he was into Eastern philosophy, into kung fu fighting, not fighting, but studying martial art. And at that time, the Soviet Union madness just faded away. So in Ukraine, we had a few stalls on the streets when people start to selling different books. There are not so many at that time. Like seriously, in 90s, you don't see many nice, colorful books there. And all of a sudden, you can see some strange people just standing in a public place with a table and a few books are there. But prior to talking to these people, my brother actually he brought home a little book called The Easy Journey to Other Planets, and he gave it to me without any detailed explanation. So he was quite cautious because he knew I'm quite arrogant person, and we were not raised in a religious family. We are not like we were not atheistic people, but we were never introduced to any religious thought or anything connected to the God and the whole thing as religion. So I just look at that book, and it was interesting to see the cover with a sitting yogi and some nice image of the spiritual sky and Krishna up there. So I was reading that book. I couldn't understand much, and he was explaining just bit by bit to me that there is a supreme personality of Godhead is there, and God is person, which was a revelation for me. So I was listening, and he gradually he explained to me that there is a soul in each individual body, and apparently soul is eternal, and there is a process how we can connect to the God, and process called bhakti yoga, and I'm trying to practice it. So if you keen, we can do it together. So gradually we began to read together, and we came to the temple, one of the temples in my city, and it was just like general story with so many devotees, smell of incense and philosophical talk, which I can't understand really. Uh, but I like the kirtan. The food was a little bit spicy, just whole thing. I wasn't impressed with that visit, but it was something there that the chanting kind of caught me. So soon after, I was embracing Krishna consciousness because of my brother. He was cooking for me. He was really, he's still a really good cook. So I became vegetarian very quickly. I was studying in a art college. As I'm an artist by profession at that time, I was still studying, and he was cooking like full meal every day. Rice, dal, chapati was served every day. So for me, it wasn't a big deal to be converted into vegetarian at the age of 18, 19. So that was my introduction into Krishna consciousness through my dear brother. Then we met devotees, and then gradually few more books were published in Russian, and then later in Ukrainian. So by the 1994, I was like full on practicing, and I was invited into BBT art department. That's another story, but I was lucky to join that newly formed art department, which was part of North European BBT. And I think England is a part of North European BBT. They just call it North European, but actually Mongolia, Indonesia, Kyrgyzstan, Azerbaijan, all these countries, they under North European BBT for some reason. So since 94 till 98, I was actively serving happily as a BBT artist in a few countries. So I left Ukraine in 94, and by 98, I was traveling to Lithuania, Russia, Sweden, and I was introduced into international community of devotees. And I had a chance to meet different devotees from different backgrounds, and served uh, within community of translators, editors, artists, and at some point there were 25, 26 languages, line production simultaneously going on. And it was like big buzzing beehive with everyone happily doing their service. So that's where the idea of sticking together with devotees came into my life. As I had like formal training in some temple activities, learning how to play musical instruments and do a little bit of puja and preaching. Actually, even before joining BBT, I was studying and distributing books, as a book distribution was number one service at that time. I think still it is important. By the way, Narada, do you want me to update you as I'm getting updates on BBT News,
Yes, please update
Bhaktivedanta Book
me.
Trust News? So I think it would be interesting for you to know about the England. How is England, ISKCON England Yatra doing with book distribution, and how many books were published? Just a quick update for you. So it's an annual report for 2024.
Hmm.
Really nicely done. I really appreciate that Devotee do really nice annual reports. So I think you would be happy to learn that Great Britain, not only England, but Great Britain, they combine it all in one, is on a countries and a long list, many countries. So distribution by the Great Britain in 2024, and the 570.5. So 5,070
570,000.
70,000 books were distributed last year,
That's half a
2020.
million. That's half a million.
It is very impressive. It's like three times more than Russia.
Mm.
And they're second place, and Russia is huge. Then third place is surprisingly Hungary. They doing like 118. Then fourth place Germany, Austria, and then Ukraine. Yeah, on the fifth place with 80,000 books distributed in 2024. And we need to keep in mind that devotees are distributing in the midst of war there, and people still buying Srila Prabhupada's books. So that's the information from North European BBT, and then there's lots of different charts and everything. And I looked through them, and I was looking for England and Ukraine, trying to compare.
Wow.
England is doing pretty well. So I still in touch with my BBT friends. I've actively finished my service for BBT a few years ago, and I continued my path of artistic service, not as a book illustrator, but I was invited into New Zealand in 2003. And at that time, I didn't know much about New Zealand. I was in Sweden, and I've got an invitation from local secretary from there, through the Mukunda Maharaja's sort of recommendation, and they were completing the big temple in New Zealand in the Auckland city, on their farm called New Warshan. So they actually offered me service to do big murals for the temple. Uh, and me and my wife at that time were like, okay, let's take that journey and see how it goes. At that time, we were just two of us, no kids yet. So we came to New Zealand 2003 in May. And for those people who know New Zealand, they know that May is winter there. And I remember our first night in a simple units. They call it units. The same in London, right? Not houses. They call them units. It's just like simple houses. And the night was amazingly cold. It was like I never ever experienced such a cold night. It was just like a shock for us. But the warm atmosphere of the temple and the welcoming devotees kind of crossed that first impression of cold New Zealand. And we actually stayed and lived in New Zealand for the next 13 years, since 2003. So I was really honored and happy to be part of that yatra, New Zealand yatra, especially Auckland yatra. And I would openly proclaim that this is one of the best devotee communities I've experienced in my life, and I still in touch with some devotees. So that's coming back to the point of sangha,
Mm,
importance of
mm,
sangha.
mm,
And despite of different ups and downs in the society, politics and this and that, the devotee friends, they kept us inspired through the years. And after finishing my service, which was done within 6 years, I've done big murals on the walls and big murals on the ceiling of the temple. We just carry on, and by that time we had our first daughter born in New Zealand, and then we stayed there for a few years, and then Krishna sent us another two beautiful daughters there. So our Indian friends were saying like, the Krishna sent you three Lakshmis in your life, so you're so fortunate, Dina Bandhu. And I was always happy, appreciating that. And the two daughters, they had chance go to the Hare Krishna school, which
mm,
was part of that New Varshan community. Beautiful school. And for those who think that Gurukulas are something really scary, that Hare Krishna school was different. It was it was set in a really nice way, as they followed their government regulations for intermediate school, and the experience of our kids were fantastic. They always remember school only as something wonderful. They had so many friends there. They had fun. So that was our New Zealand adventure, and I was happy doing service. I'm not sure if I would be able to do it again if someone will offer me to do this, because it was a hard labor, but done with appreciation. And if you have um, next is we visited back Ukraine after leaving New Zealand as just because of family circumstances. I need to come and spend some time with my mom, who was very ill at that time in 2017. So we visited Ukraine. Then for a couple of years, we went to USA. We lived in the Texas, Houston, which
Wow.
was another nice adventure. I had a job there, and again, beautiful community in Scone, Houston. Again, very good sangha of devotees, but I was not sure what to do as my visa ended, and we were thinking where to go, and we decided come back to that side of the globe, and we choose Australia. And since 2021, we are living here in Australia in Brisbane, and that's where currently we are based. And that's another beautiful community of devotees. Again, since 2023, we were part of community you are familiar with, where the majority of congregation is people with Indian background, how we say, with Indian body. And in New Zealand, there are quite a few Fijian Indians.
Mm,
Indians are the majority here in Australia. But that's another twist in the development of ISKCON society. And I think it's a really good twist that people combining their culture and heritage with the ISKCON values or Hare Krishna movement values.
mm, mm,
And I think something beautiful is shaping not only within ISKCON, as I must say, within the years of staying with devotees in different places. I was befriending many devotees from different Vaishnava sanghas. Uh, I never had and I have friends still in touch with them. And here in Australia, the followers of Siddhaswarupa Nanda are quite prominent for last, I don't know, 40 plus years.
mm,
And they do really, really awesome preaching as well here in Australia, a little bit in New Zealand, but very prominent in Australia.
mm, mm.
So that's my short story of how
No,
I was involved.
thank you. I really,
I
really
got in touch
appreciate
with
that.
devotees and carrying on that attachment to be amongst devotees.
Mm,
I was initiated in Ukraine. Well, I was initiated in Lithuania by one of the ISKCON gurus in '94. Then got second initiation later, and prior coming to New Zealand, and witnessed a few interesting things within ISKCON. But somehow or other, Krishna manages to pull the strings and keep society alive.
Can I just ask, Dina Bandhu, when you joined the movement back in the early 1990s, what was it that attracted you to Krishna consciousness? I mean, you talked about your brother and him getting you involved, and you talked about people meeting people on the streets. But what was it about the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita that really kind of pulled you in?
Uh, it's hard to say. I think some people just meant to be inspired by Vedic philosophy and Vedic conception, and more specifically Gaudiya Vaishnava version of it, because it is different. It's different. Like we
Mm,
would say,
mm,
Vedic knowledge.
mm,
Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition is a unique tradition. with very emotional involvement. It's not just awe and reverence and sort of you pray to God hoping he will reply to you. You don't know how the God looks like, this type of thing, which I think it's fine. That I really appreciate when people have that sentiment going to churches. Sometimes I can enter Catholic church and stay there, and it's really nice feeling to enjoy that atmosphere which creates awe and reverence. It's beautiful. But I was fascinated with personalities from Bhagavad Gita, from pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I probably I shouldn't share, but that was one instance when that kind of little miracle was happening for me. Is I was a little bit tough person myself, but I remember reading Bhagavatam, and it was not like a Rasika subject. I was just reading about Pandavas, was something about Pandavas, and I can feel the hair was standing on ends. It's like, what's happening? It was just emotions came through the pages. This is something which I never experienced, and I actually never experienced it. Totally drawn by the emotions coming through Srimad Bhagavatam, and I thought this is something to I need to pursue and learn more. Interesting that when I was a little kid, actually, of book nicely illustrated, and it's called Ramayana, which was kind of unusual, but I really liked that book and the fact that it was a story of two brothers, Rama and Lakshmana, and whole thing is there, and Hanumanji, and I really liked that book. But when later on I learned that Ramayana, the, Rama is not just a fairy tale or Indian mythology. He's a part of this beautiful display, which called the spiritual realm, and Ramachandra is there, and his associates there, and I was quite happy about this. But the studying Shastra, reading about them, and especially having opportunity to make some drawings and illustrations, I was quite fortunate. I was I was lucky to do some illustrations for Brihad Bhagavatamrita and for some Shrimad for a fifth canto of Shrimad Bhagavatam. We studied deeply some subjects to make drawings, and it's just wonderful. So I would, if in short, I would say visual visual side of Krishna consciousness, that richness of emotions coming through all their personalities that attracted me, and
Wow.
and
And can I
I'm quite
also
happy
ask,
to. Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
go ahead, go ahead. You're quite happy
yeah.
to what?
I
Sorry, I cut you
what
off.
I want to say. I hope I presume that attracts many people. That visual part of the Krishna consciousness.
Yes. The word I want to use is experiential. We're experiencing it. It's not just words in a book or someone telling you to live by a certain moral code or believe or adopt a certain theology. You're experiencing Krishna consciousness. Uh, it's very experiential. Um, and the question I was going to ask, because I do remember now that you told me before about your brother, but if I'm honest, I forgot. I'm intrigued to know, is your brother still practicing Krishna consciousness?
Uh, Indirectly, I would say he's a believer. He became Christian in '98, maybe.
Wow.
So I consider him Krishna consciousness in my own perception, as I don't. I don't think people who believe in different forms of God are non-believers and non-practitioners.
Mm.
So I really appreciate he made his own choice. And so he's quite good vegetarian,
That's
vegetarian
great.
Christian. Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of all for that as well. I'm actually in discussion with one lady at the moment about a future podcast who is an initiated member of the Hare Krishna movement, and she's also a Methodist church minister, which is I find fascinating. So I'm hoping to interview her soon as well. Um,
I think it's
okay.
very important. It's very important. Like if you other devotee who are doing podcasts, they are quite happily talking to different people from different Christian denominations or priests even. So I would be really interested to see interviews on your channel, how they would sort of interact with you with the Hare Krishna project, and I'm sure they will share some beautiful stories.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a very good point, actually. Of all the 183 guests we've had, all of them, as far as I'm aware, have been practitioners of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, apart from one. But that's something I've thought of as having more guests in the future that are not. But I'm still going through this very long phase of there's a lot of people in the worldwide Hare Krishna movement, millions possibly. But I have thought about guests from other traditions. I just haven't kind of got there yet, you know.
I mean,
Uh,
you know better than many people as you've been doing this interfaith meetings and talking. So I'm sure you know how to create a proper conversation because it's not a preaching field for them and it's not a preaching field for you either,
mm,
right? It's just it's a friendly discussion or sharing some inspiring stories. So hopefully my stories will inspire some people. There's nothing overwhelming, but that's my life, and I'm still living amongst devotees, and the few experiences which help me to stay within community of devotees, they are inspiring.
mm,
So I can
mm,
tell you that meeting different personalities made a great impact on my life. Some of them are not with us anymore, sadly, but helping some senior devotees and observing them and doing some seva, uh, I will keep this as my treasure for my life. I had some sad experiences. I was never like openly abused or put down, actually, but all those small puzzles with a black color, they will not make the whole picture looking dark. So
mm, mm,
I think it's understandable. All the even through your podcast, you can hear some stories with some sad feedbacks, but again, solution is to continue devotional service, and somehow or other Krishna will send proper association, proper solutions, and proper answers through different people from different sanghas. So here we go.
Thank you, Prabhu. We might come back to that later on, but for now, I just want to spend a few moments talking about Ukraine, if possible. In
Sure.
this life, your homeland, in this life, because you did appear as a guest back in April on this podcast. I cannot believe April. It was that long ago. It feels more recent than that. And you appeared with a group of other Ukrainian-born devotees, part of a group called Spirit Matter, or a campaign initiative called Spirit Matter, where the group is doing
Spiritual matter, I would say.
spiritual matter,
Yeah,
spiritual matter,
spiritual matter. Yeah.
spiritual matter, where the group is doing lots of wonderful things in terms of supporting devotees on the front line, supporting the devotee community during time of war. Can you give us a bit of an update on spiritual matter? How's it going? What's been happening? I mean, I see things on the news, of course. I don't mean in that sense what's happening. I know the
Mhm.
war's still going on. But how are things going with the group and the initiatives that you're running?
Yeah, just firstly, that name spiritual matter, it's kind of it's just indication that devotees are utilizing everything in Krishna consciousness. Even matter is part of Krishna consciousness. We using like you have that beautiful headphones and a speaker on your background next to Krishna. So it's just all together. You can't separate that microphone from Krishna because Krishna gave us that microphone. So one devotee came up with that name of spiritual matter, which I think is quite cool. They're saying that devotees with the right set of mind can use everything in service of Krishna. Yukta Vairagya, it's kind of another term for using everything for Krishna's service. So I was in touch, I came in touch with devotees from this group. They they are from different backgrounds, mostly ISKCON devotees, some devotees from Gaudiya Math, who are together trying to help those who are defending Ukraine currently. And you would be surprised to learn that there are still more than 200 devotees are fighting on the front lines. Several ladies amongst them, I think about five ladies who are soldiers. And the spiritual matter group has a like a subgroup called Food for Dharma, which is a very important part of that project. And the devotees are still cooking prasadam, packaging properly, and sending to the front lines to different regions of Ukraine on a weekly basis. And it's a huge number of prasadam supplied to devotees. Not only prasadam, some other important items are sent there. So I think it's very important to care for those who are willing to sacrifice their life for their country, which was invaded unfairly, brutally in 2022. And sadly, I would confirm that nearly 40 devotees they've been killed. They left their bodies on a battlefield, and that number is shocking, considering the fact how much effort gone into creating devotees, nurturing devotees, and all those people. They never lost for Krishna, obviously, but they're a big loss for the community of devotees. Most of them were very talented. Some of them were singers, poets. The one guy was a hairdresser, like a lady hairdresser, and he gave up his life. And we are spreading that message across devotee community in Ukraine, which was, I mean, ISKCON community, which was a little bit reluctant to publicly announce that there is a need to help those who are fighting. And luckily, official ISKCON somehow or other got that message that actually it's their duty to look after devotees. And the official ISKCON also created a program where they cook prasadam and they send prasadam to those devotees. And the 200 devotees, it's a huge number. So we're keep doing this, feeding them with our love, support, and prasadam as well. Plus the spiritual matter group having some discussions, running some YouTube videos, and one of our members is giving nice lectures on different subjects of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, trying to connect all the puzzles. And it's a really nice group, and I'm quite happy to be part of it, even though I'm thousand kilometers away from Ukraine, and just doing my bits and pieces so devotee can feel the help from different sides of the world. And luckily, I can say that we have support, at least moral support from many devotees. And just yesterday, I watched a podcast you recorded with Bhakti Raj. He's big and soft heart who can understand happening unfair war and killing. Devotees must stand up and fight. If they can't fight physically, they need to support those who is defending the truth, defending the lives of kids, women, and elderly people. So I was really honored to know Bhaktiswarup Damodar Maharaj, and I also had a little interview with him and shared it with my friends in Ukraine, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I have so many things I want to ask and what we're going to say, but I know that viewers and listeners particularly need to watch the podcast we did in April to really kind of go deep into that issue. And I think with this podcast, I'll put a link to that actually, so people can re-watch that because that was a really useful 2 hour dialogue that the group of us had about the situation. I am pleased to hear that I think this is a new thing that ISKCON is now providing meals to devotees on the front line. I think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that wasn't the
I mean, they
situation in
started
April.
in end of 24. Yeah, last year. They just started a year ago, but hey, that's it is what it is. They call it brave hearts, something like that, which is great, great thing.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And actually as a result of the first podcast we did, that link now has been created with with the League of Devotees, with the Radha Kripa Mission. Well, you know what I'm really passionate about is bringing devotees together. I meet so many devotees. I personally don't care which mat they're in or which sangha or what alliance they're in. I don't care. As long as we're nice to each other and support each other.
Yeah,
And, so I remember we created that link between Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami and Bhakti Govinda Swami in France, and they talk to me often about Ukraine. And maybe I don't want to say too much on this recording, but maybe they'll visit Ukraine one day. We'll see. Whatever the Lord does.
yeah. When the circumstances will be appropriate, it will happen. Their desire is quite firm, and Damodar Maharaj said that I promise to go there and I'll do it. When we don't know yet, but it is really nice to see his determination, and with his expertise and his powerful preaching, using Prabhupada words and his own example of his life as devotee. I think he will help a few devotees in Ukraine to get that energy back and the faith in the Krishna consciousness, because some of the devotees were losing their faith, not getting proper answers from their authorities. But I guess that phase of helplessness is almost gone, and devotees trying to be con self-confident, more
Mm,
self-confident, and not relying on sort of how to say it in a mild way, on a Mayavada influence in ISKCON, when everything is like, if someone suffers, that's their karma. What can we do? This type of thing.
mm.
And there is no quality of doya, jiva doya, there. And we know that the Lord Chaitanya, he was preaching jiva doya, and we
We
need to
need
learn.
it's important to show empathy towards other people, towards devotees. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us that Lord Krishna in his Paramatma form exists in the hearts of all. So God exists in the hearts of all, not just people that are chanting Hare Krishna, not just people who are of Indian body, not just people who are wealthy, not just people who are heterosexual, not just people who follow the rules. You know, Krishna exists in the hearts of all. And I know it's not always easy, but we need to try and live by that. We need to try and live by that. And when I joined the movement a long time ago, if I'm honest, I went through that stage of saying, well, it's all just your karma. You need to put up with it. And, someone's a friend of mine, their parents died, and I wasn't showing much empathy. I didn't show much concern. And then I remember about 10 years ago, I was in Srila Prabhupada's room at Bhaktivedanta Manor. And they have the desk there and the Murti of Prabhupada, and there's a different letter each day. And on this particular day, there was a copy of a letter that Prabhupada wrote to the disciples of Keshava Maharaj in 1969. So Keshava Maharaj gave Prabhupada sannyas. And Keshava Maharaj had left his body. He'd passed away. And Prabhupada wrote this really heartfelt letter saying, I am sorry for your loss. I feel your pain. I'm so sorry to hear this news. This is terrible news. I'm sorry for your sadness. And you could feel the empathy. You could feel the emotion coming through the letter. Prabhupada was showing sadness. He wasn't saying, oh, well, don't worry about it. He wasn't the body anyway. Just get over it. He was saying, I'm really sad for you. And that's,
Yeah.
if I'm honest, I don't remember everything that I read, but I remember that letter because we need to show compassion towards everyone, particularly devotees.
And the interesting fact, Narada, that some philosophers, they think they're big philosophers and it's gone, they know all the Siddhanta, and they can give advice like, why you don't take it more easy? It's Krishna's mercy. Someone even was suggesting that rockets falling on heads of Ukrainians, that Krishna sends them to sort of to check your determination. And if something will happen to those people, to their families, that's interesting test and see their reaction, how they would react if something will happen personally with them. And I'm sure that would be different reaction. That philosophy will be vanished in a second if their money will be stolen from their bank account, or they will lose one limb or left or right eye. That would be big problem, and they will try to fix it, run to the doctors, and all the philosophy will be gone. And they try to advise Ukrainian devotees, just take it as a mercy. I mean, in a broader sense, devotees are taking this as a mercy, that situation, they can't escape it. So they try to see mercy of Krishna through the situation. Maybe the rockets are not exact mercy, but that unity of devotees who are helping each other stay in Krishna consciousness, and also on just a human level, be empathy, to show empathy, as you said.
Mm.
This is big test, and the people will see if devotee react properly, just helping others. And in this sense, the official ISKCON in Kiev, in the capital, they do good job. They distribute prasadam, and just recently, a few months ago, it was a huge explosion and so many people died. They were right on the spot after a couple of hours and distributing food not only for the people who suffered there, but just for the people who were like firefighters and medics. They were feeding them, and I think that's awesome. Some people can say it's not the aim of devotee community to do this, but in reality, if devotee will not do this, how people will perceive us? We are just a bunch of egoistic fanatics.
Mm. 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 You and I could, I think, talk about this topic all day. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put a link to the April podcast with this podcast
Yep.
so people can really, because we could talk about it. And I can feel that you and I are getting into that kind of gripe session where we're kind of, oh, but that's for another time. Dina Bandhu Prabhu, I want to find out a bit more about you. You've talked a bit about you're an artist, you're a painter, and I didn't know that you traveled so much. I just naively thought that you went from Ukraine to Australia and that was it. For me, that sounds like a lot, but you also ended up in New Zealand, in Texas as well. Can you tell us a bit about your uh, in a bit more detail about your seva and your projects and the things that you do. I know that recently you were involved in the Ukrainian Independence Day celebrations in Australia. You told me that, then I saw it on the UK news. I didn't see you on the UK news. I saw that it was Independence Day. So tell us a bit more about that and some of your own activities and projects and things.
Yeah, I mean that the taking part of the Ukrainian Independence Day, it's kind of like my side hobby, I would say. Not hobby, but my service to the community. It's not directly linked to the devotee communities, but in each large city in Australia, there are huge Ukrainian communities, and we had big markets during that time, and I was selling some crafts, and we are raising some funds to support Ukraine. And it's always nice to see local Christian pastors there. They always take part of such gatherings, and they always find really nice and proper words to encourage people. And I admire those wise people. And general public, they listen very carefully. I mean, usually markets, it's a fun, food and music, and a little bit of sadness is there because war is still going on, and many people lost their relatives there, and all of that. But it's nice to see religious leaders coming and encouraging people. So I hope at some point Hare Krishna priests or leaders would come and encourage people with their philosophy, and also physical help, involvement into community life. And I'm sure it will happen at some point. In Ukraine, it's very real how you can get involved with external community, not just within the temple or helping each other within the community. Nowadays, with during that crisis, ISKCON need to be much more human-like, I would say, in a good sense.
Yeah.
My service, well, what I can add is actively, I'm not painting now. I do some design projects, and I work as a project manager for some design agency, but I was always happy to help devotees to paint their deities. And you know that many devotees, they have their own deities, and within a few years, I painted dozen of the personal deities, and I visited a few temples where I was fixing large deities and different temples. I went to Fiji, and in the United States, I was also working with helping Narayana Maharaja's camp, their temple there, fixing their deities. And I was also lucky to be part of completing the last painting of Mataji Shyamrani, Jadurani. And she's a well-known artist who took shelter in Narayan Maharaja's mat, and she's prominent preacher. She's still there. She's still
Mm.
doing her preaching. But a few years ago, she completed her last painting, and she officially announced that I mean, she's a senior, older lady now. The first Prabhupada disciples, they are all 70 plus. So even physically, I could see it was not easy for her to finish that painting. And the painting was, even though it wasn't large, it was like uh, about a meter high. But it was very complicated painting of Kunja Kirtan, kind of 100% Rasika painting with lots of gopis there, and I'm sure some devotees they sing this painting. So she kindly offered me opportunity to do some touch-ups and finishing some figures there. So it was really nice experience for me. Rejoin with Shamarani as she was coaching us in 94, 95 as a young BBT artist. She was coming to Lithuania a few times and giving some seminar and sharing her experience with Srila Prabhupada, how he was training them young hippies how to paint Krishna, even posing himself and doing some sketches. So I really appreciate that time, and I really like to repaint deities to just make devotees happy to see their deities renewed. Um, so that was my kind of side service within a few years. Um, and sometimes devotees ask me advice. The devotees who are doing some art projects, I'm quite happy to give my opinion on some drawings, paintings. So that's kind of also my service to help those who are doing some creative projects. Um, just give some advice.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. And thank you for also kind of name dropping in Chamarani Didi. So I was just thinking well, she's got many claims to fame, if we can use that term. One of her
Mm.
claims to fame is I gotta say this correctly, she's the longest living, the longest serving female member of the Hare Krishna movement in the Western world. So in terms of all the
One,
women,
one of them. One
one
of
of them,
them.
one of them.
Yeah.
I thought she was the longest, but okay, one of them. She was one of the original people to join the movement in the USA in maybe
In
as
Boston.
early as, yeah, 66.
Yeah.
So it's almost
Yeah.
60 years. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some women in India that have been following Gaudiya Vaishnavism longer, in their own homes, but in terms of the Western world, she's the longest serving and still serving now, which is phenomenal. 60 years. I think she was 16 when she joined, 16 or 17.
Yes. She wrote her own autobiography with all the details, how she
Amazing.
joined. It's besides the large Krishna art books she published. So whoever interested in this, they can visit her bookstore and her biography is there. It's all fascinating, and I'm so lucky, I was able to associate with her and get some her advice and do some seva. So she was calling me my dear son, Dina Bandhu, and I was very happy to hear this.
Wow. Wow. I've not had the opportunity in this life to meet her. And I probably won't, but yeah, she's certainly been on my radar as someone to interview. Um, so
You should
yeah,
be quick. You should be quick if you
yeah,
want.
I'm
Uh,
I'm conscious of that.
yes, so those devotees they have tight schedule plus health issues. It's like inevitable for them. So they're still with us. If you have a chance, I'm not sure if she will be available, but you never know, Narada.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Um, okay, Dina Bandhu Prabhu. We've got a few more questions left for our discussion today. Okay, I love this next one because I'm not really sure what the answer is going to be, which is the whole point of asking the question. What are your thoughts on the current condition of the global Hare Krishna movement? What are your thoughts on the movement today? The good, the bad, and the ugly. What would you like to change? What would you not like to change? The floor is yours.
Well, that's quite broad question, of course, and I'm sure there's a few committees trying to figure out what to do, big brains, and they still didn't figure out how to do it in a better way. Is in reality, I think both of us we can admit that Hare Krishna movement, ISKCON or other organizations, they are not showing a role sample to the world yet, for different reasons, I would say. So uh, I would like to touch the subject of implementing Varnashram within spiritual communities, and I know this is a big subject because we can't just take that varnashram system which existed hundreds years ago and try to implement now. You need to do it very expertly, uh, uh, considering considering the modern age restrictions. I'd like to read. Actually, I was just studying is coincidence. I'll just look through my notes as I was reading about Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his thoughts on Varnashrama. He actually wrote Chaitanya Shikshamrita, and he was talking about Varnashrama. And that actually he passed that urgency or importance to implement Varnashrama to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who actually talked about importance of Varnashrama during his presentations and lectures, despite being a sannyasi and training others to be renouncers in renounced order of life, as he gave a lot of sannyas initiations and a lot of brahmacharis joined the mat at that time. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is our grandfather in the one of the pillars of Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, reintroduced. He emphasized that in order to be strong as devotee, be strong as devotee community, devotees need to establish well-being in four areas of life. It's not just Ekanga Bhakti, pure, that like everyone is pure bhakta right on the spot. It never happened like this. So he said that uh, first area is spiritual, of course, is important to look after your spiritual life. The second is physical, which is very important. Ill person, physically ill person, can practice spiritual life properly. I mean, we still be able to chant and remember Krishna as we have our internal life. The body is will definitely will disappear, but just knowing that even headache, slight headache, or some other things can distract us big time. And emotional, the third aspect, emotional, which is kind of similar to body, physical, and social well-being. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was very renounced, very scholar, large, big scholar. At the same time, he was paying attention that spiritual, physical, emotional, and social well-being should be taken care of. I'm not sure some devotees hear this information. They hear before was paying attention to physical project, not just emphasizing chanting physical, emotional, and social well-being. So I guess if devotee will work in these areas, it will help to build stronger community. As I presume when the Srila Prabhupada came to America and all that, as you mentioned, first generation who joined in 65, 66, they were convinced that they will go back to Godhead very quickly. And that was their aim. Like, finally, we found the guru who will bring us downside of that, which is fantastic, to look forward to go back to Godhead as soon as possible. But they never actually planned that Hare Krishna movement will be growing and spreading. And then new generation will come and the next generation will come. So in order to build that long-term plan, they would need to consider physical, emotional, and social well-being, which was neglected. As to my knowledge, within ISKCON, it was neglected hugely. So I reckon that model, when the preaching centers are using the hatha yoga or yoga of properly taking care of one's body, is quite important. And seeing this model here in Australia, I could see that people are appreciating that model when they come to devotees to learn yoga, do some asanas, breathing, working with mind, and then gently they being introduced to with our Vaishnava philosophy. Gently is a key word. Gently, and it's working. And they done it. Different organizations, even as ISKCON, they done it in New Zealand, in Australia. So I think it's a good model. I'm not sure if it's the case in the UK when devotees trying to combine this. But if we talk about France and Radha Kripa Mission, they are using this model. They have their own yoga studio. I'm not sure if they have large attendance. Who cares? The people will come. They will learn how to fix their body, how to keep the body strong, keep their mind strong, and then they will start meditate and they will go into the whole thing. So I think that's very important to look after emotional and social well-being. And personally, I remember last year when I saw advertisement for Janmashtami, I think it was, or year before, from Bhaktivedanta Manor. It was like social, socializing and lots of stuff happening during Janmashtami. And if you're Orthodox, sort of ISKCON devotee, you would see, oh, this is too much. Like people will go there just for family fun, you know. They will forget Krishna because they have this activity for kids and this activity and for youth. But in reality, that's what will keep people coming and be attracted. That's what the Baptist Church does. They have youth ministry. They have groups for studying, for beginners. They don't load whole philosophy right on the spot onto you, like four regulative principles or chanting 60 rounds every day, like we do in ISKCON or we've done for many years. Like if you don't do this, you're not part of us. So I was happy to see that booklet. I think it was a video advertisement, and I like it. Some people don't like it. It's like, oh, this is whole Hindu thing. I really liked it because I can see it involves people from different backgrounds, even within Vaishnava community. So I think that's a future when the ISKCON will face more reality, knowing that society is run by Grihastha community. They will be that little issue with the group called brahmacharis in our society, which is basically force behind any project. Young brahmachari can do anything if he will be told, there's a service, you need to do it. And it's for years and years, the young brahmacharis were part of all main projects. But the downside of this is that those young brahmacharis, they're just a cheap manpower, on my opinion. They shouldn't be brahmacharis. That's my opinion. Brahmachari, it's different people. It's not 20, 30 years old people wearing saffron robes doing all the labor within the society. So I think it should be young boys who are attending school, and they are naturally brahmacharis. I don't care what color of dhoti or dress they will wear, yellow or charis, they should study different subjects, spiritual subjects as well, not forced upon them, but for those who are inclined to do this. So I think they should be brahmachari up until stop. Anyone who is older or who joined like the age of 30 and they can't put saffron robes on, which was the case in ISKCON for many years, and people can argue with me, but they shouldn't be wearing saffron. They they can be wearing any dress, white dress, I guess, but they're not brahmacharis. Most of them, they already had family experiences. They have kids on the side, maybe two marriages, or they want to marry. They become brahmachari, they stay brahmachari for a couple of years, but thinking, maybe I should have a family. So I think that should be no brahmacharis in ISKCON. If someone really want to be a monk, they can join the monks together, and they might wear saffron dress, and but they will be more like sannyasis. So they should be hanging just with them, as in many other religions, the monks, they live amongst
Mm,
monks.
mm,
ISKCON using brahmacharis as a main preaching force, but I think it's not working properly. That's my opinion. Those people who are currently brahmacharis, they shouldn't be wearing saffron dress. And you convinced me if I'm wrong. And for sannyasis, it should be really rare cases when people will take sannyas now within even Vaishnava community. I'm not saying there shouldn't be sannyasis, as some people are inclined to be renounced, and that's fantastic if they really want to go into that stage of life when they will not be associating with any social project. Uh, well, in additions, it's kind of, but sannyasis can't run any social projects. It is a failure in many cases within ISKCON, and it's like every year we're having some commotion and some bad stories happening when sannyasis get involved into this and this, and then sannyasis guru trying to arrange marriages for their disciples. I think it's nonsense. So I think if I'm allowed to say a few critical words, that's what it is.
mm,
Shouldn't be brahmacharis. It should be small young students, boys, girls. Well, that you can you can call them brahmacharinis or whatever. Young students. If you want to establish schools like Hare Krishna school, let them be brahmacharis. Some of them. It's in Auckland, in New Zealand. The school now is expanding with a new principal who is a really good visionary. They taking on people from different backgrounds. Sikhs are sending kids into Hare Krishna school, and the Hindu people, because they know the kids will get proper education. Plus, they will study Bhagavad Gita, and they will get vegetarian meal, and all the teachers are very strict and polite, and etc. etc. So those are people, they are brahmacharis,
mm,
but not the people jumping on the streets in orange robes. I don't think it represents Gaudiya Vaishnavism in a proper way. That's
mm.
just my personal opinion.
Thank you for that. And I'll just share something that I think I shared with you a week ago in a message that so Gaudiya Vaishnav practitioners in the Nityananda line, they don't accept that, so still in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's family, but those in the Nityananda line accept that sannyas just can't exist in this yuga because nobody is able to stick to the vows. No one's able to, follow it properly. So in their line, since the Panchatattva, they say that you can't there are no sannyasis, and so their leaders. So some of their leaders are
Are you
Prem.
talking about Nityananda Vamsh?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately they will wear white, and ultimately they would be getting married. Their leaders would get married. Uh, I just wanted to kind of put that in there. So there are other mats within the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu family that say that you can't have sannyas. It's just not, it's not practical for the modern age. So it's not a far right view. The view does exist in practice.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. Okay. I'm conscious of how long we've been recording. I've got one more question for you because I want to end on a positive. And
Yeah.
I
I
do I
think
do
it's very
ask.
positive. If we
Yeah.
come back to this, I think it's very positive. Uh, Sannyasis can exist. People can live as a monastic people. I think it's fantastic. If someone
Mm,
has a courage, uh, you can't take it from people, right? But the practically we've seen in ISKCON and probably in some other organizations, it doesn't work well. It doesn't work well. When people get involved into social activities, it just ruins the whole purpose of sannyas. And nowadays with the social media and all this pressure, the sannyasis shouldn't be involved in this. And I see time after time, brahmachari is getting like he's into 100 of like Forbes type of list, achievement. What kind of brahmachari you are or sannyasi if you're doing this? And then I was checking this list. It's called like something like Forbes. It's like you pay $1,000 to get into this 100 list. It's a cheating, and they get involved into those projects. It's not what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati introduced. It's not what Prabhupada meant for sannyasis at that time in 60s, 70s. And you know the fact in 77 Prabhupada was complaining that it's practically wasn't working the model he introduced initially. So I think that now the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition need to consider very strictly awarding sannyas to individuals, being very selective. And I think it should be single cases when people are rewarded sannyas.
mm, mm.
Sorry for
No, it's fine.
taking.
No, it's fine. No, thank you for that. I do appreciate that. And I appreciate your honesty as well. I always like it when a guest is honest and they just say what they think. It actually shows that you're quite surrendered. You might not feel that, but it shows that you just are just going to say it, and see what the response is. Um, okay, Dina Bandhu Prabhu. Um, One final question for our discussion today. I mean, you and I are both of Western heritage. We both took birth. I find that term so bizarre. We both took birth in the beautiful continent of Europe. And at some point in our lives, we decided to follow this philosophy. We decided to adopt this philosophy that's originally from the part of the world called India. And we made that decision because we just find it attractive and so quite addictive at times, actually. How can we encourage other Western people to adopt and follow the path of bhakti?
Uh, Answer is we can do it on our own, but the answer is quite simple. The holy name is the main tool which will keep people attracted to the bhakti yoga practice. And
Mm,
I've seen within different communities that kirtan yoga meditation, that's how they call it, kirtan yoga. not even bhakti yoga, kirtan yoga is attracting a lot of people. And I think there's nothing wrong to get people together and chant the holy name, even without full knowledge of the holy name will work on its own. And the famous Krishna Das, he was doing this service for many years, and he wasn't appreciated by some Gaudiya Vaishnava sort of radicals. But at the end of the day, he attracted thousands of people through the holy name. And ISKCON is doing the same, and some other groups. They getting into smaller groups and they chant the holy name. And here in Brisbane, we have a nice small project called Kirtan Friends, Kirtan with Friends. Very simple name of the project. And I visited a few times that little preaching project. It's amazing when people from different background, white Australians, and not only white Australians, anyone, they come together, they sing the holy name, they hear some explanation in a nice way, not fanatical way, and they chant from the top of their lungs. And when they chant even Om, I can really feel that genuine desire to experience that pure purification force coming from the spiritual vibrations. So I think that's the main tool introduced in the Western world. Through the vibration, through the meditation on the sound, people will begin that process. How far they can go, it's not depends on us. That projects like Kirtan with Friends for the they become friends devotees should be using, preaching through the holy name. And all other projects, I don't think we'll have time to describe. I think the holistic living and again the Ayurveda side of probably not Ayurveda as such, but a proper way of living, looking after your body and mind. That's another way how to introduce Krishna consciousness to others. As we need to be examples of that, and in order for this, we need to practice it, study it,
Mm.
and I can see it's happening. It's not a dream. It's already happening here in Australia, and I'm sure in other countries as well. So I think in even in London, you have different groups of people who are emphasizing chanting of the holy name, right? You have different groups.
Yeah, oh yeah, lots of Gaudiya Vaishnav groups and other groups. Yeah,
Yeah,
loads. It's that's great. Well, I loved your answer. The power of the holy name. I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? The Hare Krishna movement. The term the Hare Krishna's caught on as the name because we're always chanting Hare Krishna. We're singing and dancing. So yeah, I actually quite liked your very simple but thorough response there. A lot of people want to tell me lots of interesting ways to attract Western people. And we do, there are certain a lot of things happening in the UK where, the holy names are proving to be very powerful. So it definitely does work. It definitely does work. Okay. I'm conscious that we've been recording for almost 90 minutes, almost an hour and a half. And that's without planning either. There's kind of like a bandwidth. I often notice the conversations and it's great. And I've really appreciated our dialogue today, Dina Bandhu Prabhu. It's
thank you
been
for
great.
giving me the opportunity. It's really nice to talk to you, and if it will benefit anyone else, that's my humble offering. If someone is offended by what I've said, especially brahmacharis, I'm really sorry, but that's my own opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the points of this podcast, as you mentioned at the beginning, is giving a voice to the voiceless. Even though you say you're not voiceless, I am strongly of the view people need to express their own opinion. You know, when this podcast was getting up to episode 40, 50, around that time, I had a lot of complaints, people telling me that why am I supporting these types of guests because of their
Mm.
views? I had to explain to them these are not my views necessarily, they're the views of the guest. I actually do agree with you, by the way, what you're saying, but I am very passionate about people coming on and sharing their opinions about things. If somebody wants to come on next week and say why brahmacharis are important and why we need more, great. Let's have let's have that dialogue. Um, I mean, the word that when you were talking just then, the word that kept coming to me, it's actually a Christian word, and it's to witness or to be witnesses. You know, you've got the Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, but actually we should just be witnesses or living Krishna consciousness. We should, you know, witness to others through our lives, the way we're living. We're not eating meat. This is why we're not eating meat. We're getting up early to chant this mantra. Why do we do that? You know, and just kind of witnessing to others, I would say. Um,
Yep, 100%.
but not in a fundamentalist way where we want people to join us and put on bizarre clothes. I have some
Again,
bizarre.
again, it's a personal choice. It's nothing wrong. You go to Haridwar and you surrender to some local sadhu, and you follow all the rules there, and you're wearing kalpina and dhoti, and you do stuff there. Totally fine. I'm not against dhoti and kurtas, but again, it should be used really wisely. Um, and if you're preaching as a nice gentleman and it's working, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. Actually, it was interesting that Srila Prabhupada, when he formed League of Devotees, one of his first supporters, who became his initiated first disciple, he was a scholar. He was actually teaching Prabhupada. He was his guru, but he became his disciple. He was teaching Prabhupada Bhagavata because he was learned in a Bhagavata, in stories from Bhagavatam, and he was a Sanskrit professional, a teacher. So he was dressed as a gentleman, as just like probably short and pants. But Prabhupada want him to look more like Gaudiya Math. So when he saw his interest to join, he brought him to the market and he bought two dhotis for him. And he said, "You need to wear dhoti if you want to be a member of League of Devotee." So I think time has changed, and you need to bring people and buy some nice pants and nice dress for them.
Mm, mm.
But
Yeah.
again, I'm just joking. The dress doesn't matter. I've witnessed that people who are naturally feeling natural to be dressed as devotees, they don't even attract any negativity from others if they're humble, if they're fixed in what they do, if it's not just show off. No one have problem with this. I don't know. Maybe if you go to Iran or Iraq, and you'll start doing this. You need to be mindful. But in the countries like England or Australia, dress is not an issue. I am living in neighborhood. I see all type of dress. We have people from Kenya, Sikhs, saris, everything is here, no problem. When I walk my kid to the school, the youngest one, I see all type of dresses there. But important who you are and what you're contributing to the community. So devotee need to be mindful what they actually do, and in most cases they do wonderful job. They preaching Krishna consciousness.
Mm. Jai, Jai. Thank you, Dina Bandhu Prabhu. Um, I'm gonna just say goodbye to the viewers at home. or wherever they're watching or listening. I might not be at home, and you just stay in the Zoom room, and we'll have a brief debrief after. But I'm incredibly grateful to Dina Bandhu Prabhu for being our guest on the 183rd edition of the Hare Krishna Project podcast. I'm grateful to him for giving up his time. It's not always that straightforward when the guest is so far away. I mean, I'm in Britain and Dina Bandhu Prabhu's in Australia. So it means that either he has to stay up late or I have to get up even earlier.
Thank you so much, Narada. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
No worries at all. No worries at all. I appreciate you giving up your time and sharing your story. I've learned a lot about you, and I'm sure we'll be in dialogue a lot more in the future over different things that we
Sure.
are working on together. Okay, so a big thank you to Dina Prabhu for being our guest this week. Do not forget, I say this every time, it is really important. Do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions on the Hare Krishna Project. And or if you're watching this on Facebook and you haven't already, please do like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page. Whenever I say those things, the number of subscribers, likers, and followers does go up. So it means you're listening. Great. Attentively to everything that we're saying. Okay, until next week, I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Hare Krishna.